Okay, so to start drawing a mouth, the first thing we're going to draw is the opening of right here. So we want to get from the very top of the bottom lip to the bottom of the top lip. So I'm going to start by just drawing about where I think that opening is. Okay, then I'm going to draw 2 dots to indicate that's where the width of the mouth is. Now the nice thing, if I have the picture printed out, I could literally measure it with my fingers. Otherwise, if you don't have a physical image next to you, then you just will have to guess where you think that's going to be. And the smile is also slanted, so we'd want to get those dots to be slanted as well. The left side's higher than the right side. Okay, and then the last thing is to draw the shape of this opening. We're not doing the lips, just the inside opening of the mouth. So the bottom lip, or the top of the bottom lip, is much more curved than the top of, or than the bottom of the top lip. Okay, also there is the Cupid's bow in that top lip. And you can just barely see it kind of dip down in the middle there. So you want to try to get that in your drawing. And then I think I'm going to adjust, well, I'm going to adjust the opening just a little bit. So once you draw it, really scan that picture, really look at what looks off, what do I need to adjust. And that's why you also want to draw really lightly, because more than likely at some point you're going to need to change something about your drawing. So you want to be drawing lightly so that you can make those adjustments and they'll actually erase completely. Okay, and I barely have that Cupid's bow. It just dips down just a slight bit right here. It's not quite dead in the center. It's a little bit to the right. So I tried to get that a little bit to the right in my drawing. Okay, so once you have that opening, now we're going to draw in the lips. So we need to determine, okay, how tall is this top lip? And then how tall is this bottom lip? So I would for sure say her bottom lip is bigger than her top lip. So, and I would say actually her top lip looks like about half the height of that bottom lip. So I'm gonna make a line to say, okay, this is where the bottom of her bottom lip is. And then about half of that is gonna be where the top of the top lip is. Oops. Okay, and then once you feel like you've got those marked out, then you can go ahead and draw them out. So remember, the top does have a Cupid's bow, but don't overdo it because it's very stretched out since she's smiling. Also remember to be drawing lightly because we don't want her lips to be outlined in the end. We're just going to be adding gray value, and then they should basically, the outline should go away once you do that. And as you're drawing this, just keep looking back and forth at your drawing and then the picture, the drawing and the picture. And then once you've drawn it, scan your drawing, look at, okay, do I need to bring something in? Like I feel like I made the lip a little too big over here. my opening just a little bit smaller. Okay. So now we're going to go ahead and start getting the teeth in. So, first we want to count how many teeth on each side. On the right side we have 1, 2, 3. On the left side we have 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're only going to draw a total of 7 teeth. So not very many. All right, so let's start with the right side. And so what I always do is first draw that gum line. So try to find the middle of that Cupid's bow and then draw that little shape that you can see for her gum line in the middle there. And then the other thing we want to mark off is where that back tooth ends, because there's a pretty big empty black space right there. So find where that is in your drawing and just draw that curved line so you know, okay, I've got to fit the 3 teeth within this space. And then you can go ahead and draw in that gum line for the teeth. You can't really see the top of her gums, like you only see it where it kind of dips down. You do see a little bit of the top of the gum above her canine tooth or whatever that tooth is called. But the other teeth, you don't really see the gum above it. Okay, and then once you're done with that, go on to the left side. So same thing, mark off, okay, where does that back tooth end? I would say that black space on the left is definitely smaller than the one on the right. And then you know I need to fit 4 teeth over there. Try to keep the first 2 teeth the same size, because that's what's really going to be the most noticeable. If they're not the same size, it's going to look kind of weird. So base it on that size that you made on the right side. And then same thing with the second tooth. Try to keep that pretty consistent. Okay, so then we can draw the bottom edge of the teeth. Now, on hers, we can just barely see underneath those 2 front teeth, and then on the left side, that second tooth. The rest of them, we don't see under their teeth, or her teeth. So let's start with the in between the 2 front teeth. So basically, you're drawing like a really small triangle towards the bottom, not all the way at the bottom. And then you want to draw that edge of her bottom tooth. And then when you get to her second tooth, that's where it just sits under her lip. So you kind of just draw that triangular shape, but then it doesn't go all the way across. And then you're just going to draw a really small triangular shape for in between her second tooth and third tooth, because you can just barely see that. Now we can go back in and draw that line because it's definitely darker back there. So just really lightly you can draw that line to separate those teeth back there. And we can draw more lines, but we'll do that later. Let's wait on the other ones for now. Okay, and then you can go in on that left side and draw the bottom of those teeth. And we can see the bottom of that second tooth on the left side. It's a very, very thin black line underneath, so make sure you're not making it too big. Also, I'm looking at my drawing and my 2 front teeth are not the same length. So I'm going to adjust that because that looks kind of funky. Okay, and then so scan her gum line, scan the bottom of the teeth, see if you drew everything right there. And then you can go back in and add some really light value to those gums. It's a pretty light gray. It gets a little bit darker towards the back of her mouth, so you can definitely darken those, but especially in the front, you want those to be pretty light. We're gonna do these back dark shapes with charcoal, so. Same thing with the bottom of the teeth, that's black, so we'll just use charcoal for that. Okay, and then if you want, you can really, really lightly draw the line to separate the teeth. Now, sometimes, no matter how hard or how lightly I try to press down on my pencil, I just still make it a little too dark. So sometimes I'll do the line and then I'll just barely like kind of erase it. So it's still there. It's just lighter than how I originally drew it. We don't want any dark lines in between their teeth because that's going to make it look like they're gappy. And her teeth, I mean, if a person did have gappier teeth, we'd want to do that. But she clearly had probably braces, so her teeth look pretty well lined up. Okay, so now let's use our pencils to add some value for the lips. So her top lip is a little bit darker, especially on this right side. So let's start by adding value there. And actually, I'm going to thin out. And you might want to just check how you drew her lips and look at, do I need to change something? Like I'm going to thin out this very side of her top lip just a bit. And then when you're ready, add that value. And remember that when you add this value, it should get rid of the outline of the lips. So you shouldn't see the outer edge of the lips anymore. It should just be value. Also, you might add, so you don't lose that gum line, to that very bottom part of her top lip. It's pretty dark. So you might kind of darken that a bit too. Okay, so I can't see that original line that I drew for that top lip anymore because I just added value and now it's all value, no outline. And then I'm going to do the same thing on that bottom lip. It's pretty light especially on this left side, so I'm going to try to press even lighter on my pencil than I did with the top lip. And then that right side is where it starts to pick up a little bit more darker values. We'll get that shadow that she has under her bottom lip once we start getting her surrounding skin some value. Okay, and so once you add a good first layer of value, use a Q-tip and blend that. Okay, and then we can start to use that value on our Q-tip and start to get some of that surrounding skin. Because getting that area around the lips is what's also going to make it look more realistic. Okay, and then start to look at that top and bottom lip and look at where do I need to make it darker. Like, I'm gonna make the right side of the top lip a bit darker. Now I am gonna go back in with some more charcoal, but I'm just gonna darken it a bit more with my pencil for now. Same thing with, now I'm gonna go under this bottom lip and start to darken some of that skin below it. We can also get the smile lines in there. Might also blend out her gum line a bit. You do need to be careful and have like a really small tip of a Q-tip to do that. All right, and then once you have that good first layer of pencil down, you can go ahead and start really building up some of those darker values with your charcoal. So you could go in there and get those black shapes in the edges of her mouth. As long as you have like a really fine edge to your pencil, you can start to get those areas below the teeth. But make sure your pencil is pretty well sharpened. Oh shoot. Mine was a little too big. Okay, and then really start to look at where else do I need to darken those values. You don't need to make it black, but where do you want to really push some of those darker values? So I'm for sure doing some on her bottom lip. I'm going to do some on the top of, or on the bottom of her top lip. That whole right side is fairly dark. Okay, the other thing we can do is this back molar has some value to it, so you want to make sure you don't have too much value on your Q-tip, so kind of test it out to the side. But you can add a little bit to that back molar. I mean, probably on that left or on the right side too, but you just don't want to overdo it. Okay, and then the other thing is we're going to want to lighten some of these areas, especially on her bottom lip. So if you have like the edge of an eraser, that would be ideal. I don't really have like a sharp edge to my eraser, but we want to kind of erase some of these shapes we're seeing here. So it's kind of along the edge on that left side, and then they kind of curve with the curve of her lip. And then they kind of come across in the middle here. So basically just try to mimic those shapes you're seeing. You can even see it some on the edge of that right side of her bottom lip. So if you made it dark like I did, just go back in there and kind of lighten that up a bit. And then along the top of that top lip, like between her lip and her skin, there's a little bit of a reflection, so try to lighten that. My eraser was a little too big for that area, so I'm gonna kind of, ooh, that's too dark. Try to get more of her skin tone back in there. And then you might kind of like blend around where you erase just to kind of help it look a little more natural. Sometimes with the harsh edge it looks a little odd, so you can just kind of make it look more normal. Okay.